trip matching in there?
How do you mean?
Someone's booked a flight on one trip ID and then another flight on a different trip ID. Do you match
They can, yeah, they can pull total trip end to end through, because they'll just search on dates and names.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially all the raw information goes in layered with card data as well.
Live what?
Card, Amex corporate card data.
Oh, okay, interesting.
There's a lot more we can do though, I think.
Yeah. God, I wouldn't want to be an event organisation. It's an absolute shit show.
I just can't think of a worse job. I like to be told where to go, when to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to the 2022 Business Travel Show Europe Business Travel Innovation Face-Off. I'm David Meyer. Oh, there's the face-off. There's me. I'm the Executive Director of Conference Content and Strategy for the BTN Group, and a longtime former editor of Business Travel News. And I'm delighted that you're here with us today as we get an opportunity to take a look at efforts of disruptors and developers to advance the value of business travel services. Today and tomorrow we'll have 9 entrants come before you and the judges to show you their innovations in business travel and business travel management as they compete to win the coveted Business Travel Innovator Award. Okay. At 14:30 tomorrow, our judges will share their findings from the 2 days of competition and name the 2022 Business Travel Show Europe Business Travel Innovator Award winner. Before we go any further, please join me in welcoming our distinguished panel of judges. Head Judge Steve Clagg, Travel Technology Manager Microsoft, ServiceNow Regional Travel Manager EMEA Karine Morin, EY Innovation and Technology Leader Ian Spearing, and the 2021 Business Travel Show Europe Business Travel Innovator Award winner, Grapevine CEO Jack Dow. So please give them a hand, make them feel comfortable here. Thank you. In this session, we'll hear from 3 of the 9 innovative business travel supplier presenters, chosen from about 20 applicants by our selection committee to vie today for as contestants. We'll have TripStax, Arise Travel, and Jyrney. At 14:30 today, we'll hear from 3 more, Corporate Traveler, Amadeus Microsoft, and Simmered. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we'll hear from the remaining 3, Table for One, HRS, and TripShift. In this first segment, we'll see platforms for consolidating travel management data, consolidating hotel data, and consolidating ground transportation data from the aforementioned TripStax, Arise Travel, and Jyrney. Presenters are limited to 7 minutes for their presentations, and then they'll have 4 minutes of Q&A with our judges, followed by 2 minutes of Q&A with you in the audience. And we'll be very strict about the 7 and the 4 minutes, but we do encourage you to ask questions, so we'll be a little more lax about the 2 minutes we give to you. So now, for all who sit in judgment here, we're ready for the trials to commence. So let's begin our innovation face-off by welcoming TripStax CEO, Jack Ramsey. So Jack, please step forward. Give you the controls. I give you the microphone.
Thank you
and
very much.
7 minutes on the clock.
I'm going to sit down for the first part.
What's happening? Where am I? What is this place? What's that? Huh? Oh. I don't understand this. What's going on? Approvals? Profiles? Online booking tools? Analytics? Mobile? Duty of care? Content? This is crazy. This is a maze. We've got to integrate all this. Where's the innovation here? If we don't innovate, we're never going to sort all this mess out. There must be a way to escape this mess.
In our chief marketing officer's study in her flat, which she completely blacked out for this purpose. It's a bit basic and it's a bit simple but the point of it is to articulate the chaos that travel management companies have to go through to integrate technology and provide it to their customers. And we've tried to articulate that chaos in this slide. So the problem we're trying to fix is, if you look at our industry in its basic level, we have travel suppliers, air suppliers, hoteliers, car rental, rail, a bunch of different supply. And we have different channels. Once upon a time, the GDS was the prominent channel for all, and there were some off-channel booking channels that came around. Now we have non-GDS providers, a plethora of them. Whether it's air, whether it's hotel, everybody's aggregating everybody else. So there are a bunch of different ways to connect to this supply. And then you have offline, online, and mobile, and other ways to make bookings now, which all need to be connected to all of that supply to provide the best service to a client. Then you've got each of those point of sales that have other third-party data requirements, whether that's duty of care, whether it's enrichment in a number of different ways. And all of those solutions need a profile. But all of the providers to those solutions also need a profile. So your profile has to flow around the whole ecosystem as well. You can see the story we're trying to tell. There's lots of lines, there's lots of connectivity that needs to be made. For a travel management company, the booking data needs to go back from each of these booking tools into the core supplier so that they've got the information that needs to go to the airlines or the hotels or whatever. So there's back and forth integrations everywhere. Then you've got back and mid-office systems. So TMCs need to be able to invoice clients, they need to be able to capture financial data. Now they need to be able to enrich that data with carbon information and various other things. So there's integrations that need to happen there. And then there's expectations in our industry of all sorts of other pieces of technology that corporate buyers need and the TMCs need to be able to provide. They all need to be connected, and it becomes a mess. And I've worked in a GDS environment in the past. I've worked with travel agencies. You need a professional CTO to understand this minefield. And most travel management companies aren't concentrating on being tech companies. They're concentrating on being service-driven companies. So there must be a simpler, more cost-effective way to do this. So TripStax, we're innovating through disentanglement. We're not looking to create a new booking tool. We're not looking to create a new piece of technology in one of the sort of pocket areas of the industry that will be better than anybody else's. What we're trying to do is untangle the chaos which is connecting all these components together and doing it at a significant sort of reduction in cost for TMCs. They shouldn't have to pay the world just to adopt this technology. So we're untangling integration complexity. That chaos, we're taking that away, unraveling financial hindrances. You shouldn't have to pay 5, 6, 7 different technology providers all to take exactly the same data and put it in a different SQL database just to offer you their solution. That data should be managed centrally in one place. And our industry is built on a legacy that it just can't get away from. It's stuck to it like glue. And there are innovators, my peers in this environment, others in the past who have been in this situation, in last year's Faceoff, innovators who are slowly driving towards that change. We're trying to help accelerate that by getting to the core of the problem, which is where I unveil, Vanessa, the lights, please. The TripStax core. Essentially what we're trying to articulate here is, at the start, I'm in a dream, and it's chaos, and I'm falling over myself. I'm trying to get my head around how to put all these disparate technology vendors together. The TripStax core does that work for our TMC customers. It's the data processing engine. Blimey, 1 minute 21. Whew. Got to keep in the time. It's the data processing engine. So we pull booking data, we pull financial data, we pull profile data into a central database, which has a layer of APIs that feed that data to 8 proprietary technology modules that TMC customers can use. These proprietary tech modules, they're all our own, they're all built by us, and they all work from the data that's stored centrally in the core. If you went out as a travel management company and tried to find vendors disparate vendors for each of these. They're all taking data that we're storing centrally and storing it separately. And the costs ramp up and your margins on every booking go down. So the core is our powerhouse. It's our disentanglement powerhouse that we're bringing to the industry. It doesn't disintermediate the GDS. It doesn't want to push anybody out of the industry. It doesn't disregard our pocket innovators that we want to continue to drive the industry forward. It becomes a way to clean up how all these different technologies of our own and others are integrated centrally. We have hundreds of connections already within the TripStax core to a plethora of third-party online booking tools, different providers of duty of care data. So it's not just our own tech, and you can take one or more of them, and it's far cheaper than taking 8 separate. You're going to kick me off the stage.
Time's up.
Here you go. This just quickly for the judges. There's your 6, your list of 6. We had a point on each of these that expresses why our innovation ticks the boxes there. Thank you very much for your time. I've run out of time, but thank you very much for listening.
Okay, so now we have 4 minutes for the judges. So we've got, please put the 4 minutes on the clock. Here we go.
All right, I'll kick it off.
Take it away.
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions. Let me start with one clarification. It sounds like the core of your core is really just about data servicing. So you basically remove the complexity of multiple data and data normalization and data centralization. You build this API layer on top. That's kind of it. The modules, I don't get those. Are those connectors or are those applications? Are those pieces with user experience? Are you building? But you said you're not doing an online booking tool.
So we're not focusing on the booking. We do have a content module which surfaces GDS and non-GDS content provision, but we aren't trying to build another Concur.
So those modules are just connectors to products that use them.
We have an analytics platform that we've built, proprietary analytics platform. It's built in Click and business objects, and that consumes data from the core and surfaces it in an analytics platform that our users, so the TMC, and their users can use to analyze their booking data. There's predictive analytics in there, natural language communication, there's all kinds of stuff in there. So each of the modules is an application within the TripStax ecosystem. The point we were making on the previous slide is that actually we have connections to Atris and Concur and Sidetrick and a bunch of booking tools. We have access points from a user interface perspective as well as from a data perspective. So the ecosystem is not just the core and our 8 modules. It's a number of different industry innovators that we already have connected.
All right.
Some of whom are our competition in here that we feel quite strongly have done well in innovating in their area of the business, and we see an opportunity for integration into our core and into our proposition in the future.
It is very techy. Any roadblocks from suppliers, or it seems good if it works?
Thank you.
I'm just curious where.
I think the key to this, and one of the points on this slide, ability to sell the concept. So we already have a million user profiles in the system. We have a large global TMC that are our sort of flagship customer, and then we have a number of other deals that we've signed since we launched in March. So there's a million user profiles, and there's over 3 million booking transactions that are flowing into the core and being used by all of those modules and others. So from a supplier perspective, demand is already there within the platform. So we're talking to quite a lot of airlines about direct connects for their content on the NDC side. We have aggregator connections to the like of Kite and Travel Fusion. Airlines are interested in us because we already have demand in what is quite they tell us, quite a comprehensive proposition to the TMCs, and because we're sort of a bit overwhelmed since we launched in March in the amount of traction we've got with TMCs, that only sort of bolsters our argument to the supply side. We're also looking at some acquisitions in the future which bolster hotel content and other things, but mostly our focus the core proposition is the ingestion of the booking data, ingestion of the finance data, and the profile data, and then dispersing that throughout, TMC's ecosystem. 22 seconds.
So I'll go with a future vision question for you. So with all those transactions, you've talked about 3 million transactions going through the system, from a corporate buyer perspective, the analytics and the ability to take all that data and give some benchmarking information, some future trend analysis, what would you say would be one of the key metrics that you'd be able to provide a corporate buyer from having all of that data in one core, as you described it?
I think benchmarking is really interesting. I mean, we're going to double that transactional volume by the end of this year. So we've already signed deals that will sort of accelerate that quite quickly. And that information, I think it's really important that it's anonymized. Lots of our customers are saying, look, you can use our data, but it's not our data when you're presenting it. So I think if you can anonymize the data in the right way, which we can, and you can then provide predictive analytics mechanisms within our apps and within other apps, we will be working closely with Travelogix and other app providers. We don't want our data to be purely focused in our own analytics solution. We've got that data stored centrally. We want to be able to provide it to a TMC, irrelevant of what analytics front end they're using to analyze that data. I think there's a lot we can do in the future that it's not my fault. I think there's a lot we can do with data in the future. I also think we're seeing a lot of demand from other types of suppliers, in-destination content suppliers. I spoke to a guy today who is providing data on where doctors are in countries that you're traveling to. People aren't really looking at that actively. If we can bring that into our portal, which is the UI, sort of the center of the ecosystem, you can surface any sort of content you want to the traveler, and it's the TMC being able to market that. So there's a whole bunch we can do with the ecosystem. Thank you. I feel bad for the guy on the end.
That's okay. We've got 2 minutes now for questions from the audience. Does someone from the audience have a question? Well, in that case, Jack gets to ask a question. Go ahead.
So I suppose my question was, you say there's a bunch of cost savings as a result of and I presume that's because other suppliers don't have to do a bunch of this data aggregation and collection themselves. I suppose my question is, will they really charge less for their product given they don't have to do that? Or, are they, where is the real cost saving?
So the best example, we have a deal that we've signed with a fairly large travel management company in the US. They came to us with a need for an analytics platform, or an interest in an analytics platform, a mobile application, a document production, so the itinerary creation, and one other solution. 3 of those solutions were replacing an incumbent. And those incumbents for analytics were charging X amount per transaction that they consume into their database. The exact same transaction is then consumed by the mobile vendor, and the same with the document production vendor. So you're paying, let's say it's $1 each. It's not those numbers, but $1 each. That's $3, all just to take exactly the same data point. And the TMC don't understand that. This is what you get charged for, industry-leading analytics platform, and this is what you get. But we've halved the cost for them, just in putting the TripStax core as the central data processing engine, where we only charge once, irrelevant of the amount of our applications they use. Now, if they want to continue to use an application that isn't within our stack, then there's additional cost. But if the more of our solutions they take, the more money they save.
So the cost saving is through using you as an alternative to the existing suppliers.
Exactly that. And that has I think I'm interested to see what others in this Faceoff are going to be presenting, because I think there is a growing demand within the industry for the economic model to be kind of flipped on its head. I think anything we can be doing to chip away at that idea is really interesting, and I don't think the TMCs have the ability to really take advantage of pushing for that change, because they're burdened by having to adopt technology to keep pace with some of these hugely invested in tech-led TMCs of the age. And to do that, they're going and building stacks which are, multiple vendors at high cost, which then means they're having to charge more to the corporate client, who is essentially the traveler. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. How about a big hand for Jack? Are you gonna leave your box on? Do you have the clicker? Do you have the clicker, Jack? Oh, there it is. Thanks. Thank you. Oops. Sorry. Okay. Next up, Arise CEO, Nadim El-Nanawi. Nadim, the clicker, the microphone. You have 7 minutes. Yep, take it away.
Perfect. Well, hello everyone. So I'm Nadim, co-founder, CEO of Arise, and we are building a new infrastructure for travel, starting with hotel distribution to allow hotels and partners booking their rooms to share real-time data and transact much more efficiently compared to today, and without needing any intermediaries like GDS, switches, or OTAs sitting in between them. So I'm sure most people in this room would agree with me that the technology that's currently powering hotel distribution behind the scene isn't great. There's a lot of legacy infrastructure, outdated pipes that at this point simply prevents hotels and their partners from collaborating in the best possible way. Issues with data quality, like poor content, inaccurate rates, incomplete information, the inability to really personalize an offer based on who the traveler is. These are all types of issues and inefficiencies and limitations that hotels have had to deal with up until now. And even worse, they've had to pay quite a lot of money to services like GDS for this. And so, if we look at the impact this has had on business travel, well, attachment rate isn't great, right? It's nowhere near where it should be, and that's because simply travelers have a bunch of reasons to book outside of their corporate booking tools right now, which isn't good for the corporations, not good for the TMC, and frankly not also good for the hotels, because a lot of these bookings end up going to the OTAs, which then leads to a bunch of other problems. And so this was maybe acceptable, up until a few years ago, arguably. But the world around us is, as you can imagine, as you can see, is changing and evolving quite rapidly. So do customers and travelers' expectations and booking behavior. And the current infrastructure is simply incapable of keeping up. So we've built a new infrastructure, a technology that removes the need for intermediaries and that removes all the technical limitations to how hotels want to work and share data in real time with their partners. And our solution leverages distributed ledger technology, and I promise I'm not going to go into too much technical details here today. But our technology, what our technology does is that without requiring hotels or their partners to change their ways of operating or their system, it actually creates a consistent now source of truth between transacting parties. So now you have accurate data at any given time on a shared ledger between hotels and their partners, which actually solves a lot of today's problems and inefficient processes, as well as enable future capabilities that are simply impossible on today's infrastructure. So for TMCs and OBTs that corporations use, this means that now they are put in a position where they can enable the best possible booking experience to their traveler. Because all the information that the hotels want the traveler to see at the time of query is now exactly shown to the traveler. So the very simple basic things that you would think would work today, like the correct rates based on who the traveler is, real-time availability, complete information about cancellation policies, up-to-date quality content, etc. So all of that now is exactly shown to the traveler, what the hotel has. And then you can also supplement that with additional information, like sustainability is quite a hot topic these days, as it should be. Now this can also be part of the ledger and automatically shown to the traveler. Post-stay, that shared ledger, that source of truth, now gives also much greater visibility and transparency over all the shared bookings that specific corporations or TMCs have with their hotel partners. So the TMC and corporations know exactly when a guest checked in, checked out, the room type they stayed in, if there were any ancillaries or add-ons added to the room charge. So you have now full visibility over that, which should, as it should be, because corporations spend a bunch of times negotiating special rates, add-ons, perks, whatnot, but then they struggle with their TMC partner to actually figure out, was this actually always correctly shown to each one of my traveler? what was actually consumed at the hotel. Like these are all processes that right now are not, very efficient, whereas all of this now is solved by default, which will help streamline reporting and reconciliation processes. And so a modern infrastructure is the required first step if you want to take your hotel distribution capabilities and hotel travel program to the next level. For TMCs, corporations, OBTs, or even solutions like TripStax, who could leverage that as well. Which naturally will lead to an increase in what TMCs call attachment rate, or prevent the rate leakage from happening, because you will give zero reasons moving forward for your travelers to be like, oh, why should I be forced to book here where I can find better information or more personalized information elsewhere? Because that's the thing. Our solution not only solves the data quality issue in real time, but also enables booking tools, which is TMCs or OBTs, to really offer a personalized experience to the traveler. Because more data points can actually be also taken into consideration now when an offer is automatic, when a traveler makes a search query. So of course you have rates and availability and whatnot, but now loyalty status, for example, is one thing that we're doing with a specific chain. You can also connect guest preferences or CRM or a bunch of other relevant data points and rules that the hotels want to put in place with specific partner on how to automatically return the right offer based on who the traveler is and the type of trip that they're taking. Like right now there's this bleisure, I don't like the term, but the bleisure trend happening. Well, now hotels are kind of like trying to figure out a way where how can they attract guests who potentially are thinking of extending their stay around a business trip. You can set up pricing rules in a very transparent and automated way now with their TMC and corporation partner, whereas today it's very difficult on today's infrastructure. And so this technology is being rolled out as we speak. This is the first TMCs and the first chains are going live here in Q3. Some of the chains are mentioned on this slide, and plus others. And then we have more coming in Q4 and obviously also throughout next year. And so to get started, it's actually quite simple, because even though the underlying technology is very different than the old pipes currently in place, the way hotels and TMCs or OBTs connect to it is pretty much very similar than how they already work today with the GDSs or the OTAs. And so once they are connected to Arise, corporations and travelers will be able to take their hotel travel program to the next level and provide the best possible experience to their traveler, as well as streamline their processes working with hotels. And so if you are in touch with us already, great. If not, please do. And we'll do our best to onboard you guys as quickly as possible. Thank you. Yes, I have 20 seconds left. That was good. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Excellent presenting a solution based on blockchain without ever mentioning the word blockchain.
Yeah, because I'm going to get questions about crypto and everything, right? Which has nothing to do.
My question is not going to be about crypto. Two questions real quick. Are you just a distribution solution, or are you also a marketplace?
Well, essentially, it's an infrastructure connecting both sides, so it's...
And you have a front end for booking then?
No, we're not customer facing.
Oh, there we go. That's what I was trying to understand. And then the last part of that then, so you're an integration play then with the booking experience.
Yeah, it's a new data sharing model and distribution behind the scenes, correct.
Tell me how this solution solves problems. You hinted at it, but be more explicit about how this solves problems with reconciliation and expensing. How does this make life better?
Because we are fully connected to the hotel system, and so once you have a booking that is made, you have what we call like a unified booking record now. You don't have no longer a version of a booking that lives in the hotel system and one that lives in the TMC's or OBT's back office. You have one unified now version of that record on the ledger. So if things get changed at the hotel after the booking was made, so let's say you book 3 nights, but then you modify, you cancel, or whatever, this automatically updates that record on the ledger. So there is that level of transparency, and at all times, basically. Like if you're in a corporation or a TMC, you know exactly the status of your bookings of your traveler in the hotel system, and if that gets changed, you're fully aware of that. Now, the hotels do control what information they want to share with specific partners. So like some chains are totally fine with sharing like all the add-ons and ancillaries and whatnot that were consumed at the hotel. Some are arguing like, yes, room stay and like parking, breakfast, yes, because these are part of our agreements with the corporations or TMC. We might not want to share that they spent $300 at the bar, right? So again, that's like on a case by case, but at least we remove the technical, again, limitations of how much data points can be shared back and forth, and then it's based on the relationship you have with your hotel's partners. Does that answer your question?
Thanks. Well, in the time given, yes.
Yeah.
So you're working with hotel chain only at that stage, or will
And
envision?
it's not limited to just chains. The reason why we're starting with chains is because it guarantees us thousands of hotels day one. Like we talk at the corporate level of the chain, and then this is being rolled out automatically across all their brands and hotels. We don't talk to each hotel individually, which is why it's easier for us to get started. It sounds weird to say it's easier with the chains, but it is easier to actually onboard all their properties.
So does that limit your ability with the content? Like we've got, especially in Europe, lots of independent hotels.
Yeah, and so for independents, we actually work with their PMS provider. So it's kind of like two strategies. You talk to the corporation of the chain, corporate level, they roll it out across all their brands. For the long tail or the independents, we connect to their service provider. Like Muse is the first PMS that's fully integrated into us. And so they can basically leverage our technology, make it available to their independent hotel clients, and they can also then start bypassing the GDS and have better distribution capabilities and so on. So it's the service provider, the PMS, who actually then pushes it to their hotel clients, but it's not automatic. Like Muse has what, I think 2,500 hotels. It doesn't mean that all 2,500 are live today, whereas the chains, they just roll us out automatically. But it's this two approach for us. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's just as well as a travel manager, you focus a lot on the traveler, what the traveler wants. And as a travel manager, I want them to do what I'm telling them to do. So can you kind of bypass whatever they want to do, and I put my own, if I want to see specific, can you? That's
on the customer-facing side, which right now we aren't. Where we make sure, though, is that the customer-facing side tool that the traveler is using is indeed displaying the offer that they should be seeing at any given time and have absolutely zero reason to even think outside of it, which isn't the case today.
And that's our time.
No.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's all right.
So, audience, you have a question?
Hi there. Coming to the back end, how does the payment process work?
So good question. So right now we're not handling payments, like we use a third party for tokenization and pass that information through, but we aren't handling the payment itself. However, it is indeed, we are talking to both chains and agencies about getting involved into the payment flow, given that we have, as people say, like we solve the accuracy, the source of truth of the data, so we are in an ideal position to know exactly when and how to handle payments between each side, from the seller to the hotel and then commissions back out automatically. But this isn't implemented yet. So right now we're just passing through and tokenizing information, but we're not handling the payment. Conversation could be different in a year from now.
Quick question. So since you have then the data from the PMS and the ledger in your ledger, does that mean you then will address the issue of VAT reporting in the hotel space?
Yeah, probably, yes. Simple answer, short answer, yes. Again, I don't have, like, this could be a lengthy subject, so we could talk about it for a longer time, but the short answer is definitely yes. Honestly, I'm not going to go into much more details, but yes.
Apologies, this is the competition asking a question, so if that's not, if that's against the rules, let me know. But we've talked before, right? So we know each other, and I've been in the I 100% agree, and I think that'll be the same with a lot of the others. I'm interested in you more now talk about your relationship being with the actual providers, so the actual chains. So where does the demand get generated? Is that still the TMC's responsibility, and actually you're really just working for the chains and you don't have to generate any demand on the TMC or the sort of buyer side? Does that make sense?
No, the interest is two ways. It is true that it's the chains pushing because they want to, but they need to use a carrot, right, for the TMCs to really change. And so the real carrot is like TMCs want to increase their attachment rate and make sure the travelers have the best experience so they don't lose all their clients to the trip actions of the world, right? So, which we work with. Like, I love trip actions, but just saying.
Nice.
So for that, they need to have better, distribution capabilities, better processes, and make sure, again, the right information is shown to each unique traveler. So it's honestly two ways, and that has been our approach, is finding chains that do business with specific TMCs. Both sides are frustrated for a bunch of different reasons, and both see benefit in leveraging our ledger or our solution instead. of the GDSs and others. So honestly, it's twofold. Howard, okay.
Is there another question from the audience? Okay.
You're not done yet.
Sorry, it's just around where the cost model hits. Does it hit the hotel chains? Does it hit the TMCs? What's preventing your growth in your portfolio at the moment, and what does that growth look like moving forward?
So what's preventing our growth is that we are still early, so we're still a pretty small team, and nobody likes to be the first, right? So for us, we wanted to make sure let's launch with some big players like ISG or Premier and some of the smaller chains, and then some handful number of TMCs to start. That's what we're going through here in Q3, and then we're allowing more to start connecting in Q4. So that's what, to answer the first part of the question. We charge on the hotel side. Like right now we're starting on a transactional model, which is way cheaper than what they normally pay to the GDS or others. This business model is meant to evolve given that it's a technology. The whole point is that hotels can run it themselves. Like we are not even in the picture anymore, which then we'll have different services and stuff. So that's a future conversation about how we'll make money with the hotels. But right now we only charge the hotel a transactional model. TMCs don't pay anything. The day that we do get involved with payments, if they want to use our services to handle payments, automate commission reconciliation, basically bypass the Onyx of the world, then that's a service they can pay us for. But right now, there is absolutely no cost to the TMC or corporation side.
Excellent. How about a big hand for Nadim? Great. And now our final competitor for this round of the Innovation Face-Off is Jyrney CEO and co-founder Daniel Price. Daniel?
Hi, I'm Daniel, co-founder and CEO of Jyrney. And before I leave here today, I'm going to get you all as excited about ground transport as I am. Okay, the few of you I know in the crowd probably thinking that's not going to happen, and they might be right. However, why do I care so much? The reason why is currently today, less than 3% of all TMC transactions are ground transport. Okay? And that's crazy, because who here lives at the airport? Okay? Maybe this guy, right? Who lives at the train station?
I want to tell you about a
Definitely not this guy, okay? And the challenge we have is that every single journey to these two locations has 2 ground transport attached to it. And as a TMC, we're not taking any of this revenue. And this is, in the UK alone, an £11 billion market. And we have less than 1% of it being managed within travel management. And all that kind of doesn't make any sense when you start to say it out loud, because that's just the UK. And this market's massively changing. Of course, we've got huge investment into this market. And one of the main challenges that's making it different is this work from home. People who used to do a daily commute now might do a weekly trip into the office. And that's now a business trip because they work from home. And the automotive businesses, the car rental companies, the leasing companies, they're all gearing up to take ownership of this space. And we're missing an opportunity. But, I mean, I love this industry, but ground transport, you have the taxi. You have the taxi company. You have the taxi dispatch systems. You've got ride-hailing companies. Quite frankly, it's a bit of a mess. And what we do is we pull all of this together into a single API, and not just the taxi companies in the towns and cities where you live, but global brands. And we simplify this process to enable a single platform or a single API integration for that content. And that enables us to give an easy booking process, either through an API or through our platform that can be white labeled. And we enable customers to choose from a standard vehicle, executive, multi-people carrier vehicles. And we also enable them to book zero-emission vehicles so that they can save on CO2. And at some stage in the future, we'll add car hire to the platform as well. The biggest challenge with managing ground transport is the management of ground transport, and this is why TMCs haven't adopted it. Jyrney solves this problem. Our machine learning software finds out beforehand from predictive technology on the historic data from that taxi company whether they are going to dispatch that vehicle on time. It looks into the past and says, do they have a record for doing this? And it gives us color-coded alerts When it goes red, Jyrney can get involved, and Jyrney can then reallocate that booking to another supplier. It can look for someone who is closer in real time to help your pre-booking. So here you'll see Jyrney's alerted us to a 19-minute delay. It's identified some supplier nearby using our on-demand engine so that we can actually allocate it to a new taxi operator that can come and collect. And as you can see, great, the taxi's now back to being on time. And we keep these, the customer updated throughout the whole process. We keep them updated with text messages that tell them where the vehicle is. We've got alerts when the driver arrives, and we give them a link to track that vehicle. And we are collecting a huge amount of data on CO2, on time performance. Every 30 seconds, we know where the driver was. And we can use all this data to create really easy-to-use reports back for the travel management company and the travel buyer. But we're solving the three biggest challenges when you book outside of a TMC. First one is cost. You know, you get out of a taxi, maybe at the business travel show, and the taxi driver says, that's £25, please, and you're a really nice person, so you say, make it 30. Nice tip from the company there. Second thing is he gives you a blank receipt anyway, and a month later when you fish out that receipt, 35, 40? Jyrney creates the exact cost of that trip and passes that forward through the invoice system. And the second thing is CO2. We're not going to hit net zero with that crumpled up piece of paper that the employee wrote £40 on. Right? We don't know where they went from to, the vehicle, the CO2. Jyrney collects the exact CO2 for the trip, and we then use that to report back, and we offset all the journeys that are made within carbon emitting vehicles. But the final one for me, and the big one, is safety. In the travel management community, we ensure that our travelers have a safe hotel program, safe flights, car hire, you know, well-respected businesses. But the time they get into a car with a stranger, we're largely absent from that process. We ensure all of our suppliers are audited, and we make sure that we can know where they are, when they are there, and who they are with at any given time. We've already signed 10 businesses across travel and transport, and we provide the on-demand rides for Sixt in the UK. We are providing rides for Lex Autolease, the largest car leasing company in the UK. We've signed 4 travel management companies, and we are currently onboarding our first customer for the Advantage travel partnership, where we've launched the Mobility Hub. The Mobility Hub is a white-labeled Jyrney platform that enables all of Advantage Travel members to get access to all of their mobility partners, so they don't need to visit multiple platforms to get access to the content and the deals that they've got. No one has yet solved the ground transport problem for TMCs. Many have tried, and in reality, they are either repackaging their consumer offering for the business travel market, or they don't have direct integrations with the end transport, and they're booking these vehicles via emails, and they're hoping they might turn up. And I know that because I used to do that at a previous company. So they're hoping that it'll turn up. The final thing is they're not managing the journey end to end. They're not automating the process, and TMCs, they've no interest in managing ground transport. So we've built an automated, integrated ground transport technology that is ready for the TMCs who today now need to upgrade their ground transport solution if they want to compete in this new market. And I promised my co-founder I'd do this only once on this presentation, but we'd love for you to join us on this journey. Thank you. Oh, 5 seconds.
Ian? I think I'll just touch on the safety piece first, just to commend you on that. I think that's really important, especially for female travellers, specifically across the globe. So I think that's a really good point. I'm still a little confused, and it might just be me. How does it actually work, as from a user's perspective? Where's the touch point? Where does a user go?
So they can do it, and at this moment, if you wanted to book it, there's multiple. So the agent can book it for you if you're on the phone, and they can use the Jyrney platform to book it. We can give them a single sign-in, white-labeled, our version of our UI, or you can book it through your OBT, and those are the integrations we're talking through as we speak. So it's really built to be as flexible as it possibly can be for the TMC and how they want to interact with us.
Can I have a follow-up question? How are you finding that conversation with travel management companies, with the lack of resources we have across the industry at the moment with another platform that they may need to be trained in? How are you navigating that conversation?
I think this is a big problem, and we're getting a lot of interest and a lot of traction within the market. So, as I mentioned, we're onboarding 4 as we speak at the moment, and these guys are currently surfing 4 or 5 platforms just to find content. And we're not wanting to compete with their existing suppliers. We can integrate them. We can bring them into the platform and work with them. And to your point about the lack of resources, OBTs, I mean, ground transport, no one's that interested, but they need it. So OBTs don't want to integrate 20 ground transport platforms. We're experts in it. Let us do it, and then we can provide the content that the user wants in one simple integration for the OBT.
Thank you.
Can you tell a bit about coverage? So you've got good coverage in the UK, from what I understand. Is the goal to go global as well?
Yeah, so globally we are working with partners to integrate at the moment. So we're integrating some really big brands that give us access to content, internationally. And some of the integrations we've done in the UK have also got plenty of like US coverage, Australia. We're talking about Southeast Asia. So coverage will be it's a challenge when you're building a business that's got 2-player game. You've got the marketplace side, and then you've got the customer side, and one wants the other before the other will join. So it's been that scenario of building up both sides, which we're doing a really good job of.
Cool.
Right. So it seemed like there was a heavy emphasis on taxi, right? You did mention some other services that you're integrating, like Sixt on demand, right? Tell me, what's your plan beyond the taxi and black car? Like, are you actually considering supporting, booking people on other transportation, like shuttles, buses? Tell me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's your line?
My career before coming anywhere near taxi was car rental, and I spent 15 years, and we already have agreements in place, and the first car rental companies that we will sign up, and car rental is a bit easier. There are global brands. Taxi companies are a lot more fragmented. And we will be onboarding, so we will give that option, that choice to the customer between which they would like to choose. And if anyone's tried booking car hire to get delivered via a GDS, will know that it just doesn't really. We can get one at the airport, fine, but if you go outside of that, it just really doesn't work. So yes, that and coaches, and eventually micromobility will aggregate all of the micromobility APIs and make that available through our partners' apps, pass through our API, and we'll just be that one central point. If you imagine that we want to be probably the Visa of ground transport, where no one will really know it's us doing it, but we will be that little logo at the bottom of the card, and you'll think Barclays are doing all the work.
And you'll just ignore things like the tube?
The what, sorry?
The tube?
I mean, so
it's an option, a valid option for ground transport?
It is absolutely a valid option, and we are working on technology that says if the taxi is going to be late, then you should do this instead, because we're not a taxi company, right? We just want to get you where you want to get to on time. So yeah, they're absolutely all options. And if there's other technologies that's already doing it, then we'll go get it from them, because we don't want to build everything.
That's our time. Do we have questions from the audience?
I've heard Jyrney. I've heard the name quite a lot. It's the first time I've seen you, and the first time I've seen the proposition. I think it's special. What my question really is, I've worked with some people in this room in a GDS where it's all about aggregating supply, whether it's hotel, whether it's car rental, whether it's in this space, taxi firms aren't from my experience the best at like having their content stored somewhere ready to just surface, so you can collect it from an API, aggregate it, and then push it through a single API. Have you found it's difficult to get the content into the platform and then turn it into a single API? And secondly, let's have a chat, because if you've done that well, we'll have it.
Then I've got to answer yes, haven't I? But the answer is yes. So taxis are available through a dispatch system, which tells them where to go, and they're all different. And some of it's antiquated technology. So we've just built this integration layer that cleans up all the XMLs, the SOAPs, the APIs, and we pull it into our single layer, and then we turn it into a language that our system will deliver in a much cleaner format. So the answer is yes, and the answer is yes, it's difficult. It's taken us a good year and a half of a lockdown to do it, but yeah, it's all there ready to go. It's just us, right?
Is there another question out there?
Sorry, it's me again. Historically, I personally have found platforms like this have quite a markup, particularly on private chauffeur cars. Is that going to be the case? Because it does make it really hard as travel managers to drive people towards a platform rather than booking themselves.
You're right, it does. And the TMCs we're working with at the moment, they've benchmarked us. I've been on a call and they've said, oh, it cost me this to get from here to here, and it was £75. We went straight onto their version of our platform and showed them the Jyrney was £45 or £50. And they told me that they don't even get any commission in that because they don't spend enough. Our model's really, really simple. We make a complete setup markup, which we're very upfront about at the beginning of the relationship, and any TMC commissions and cost for them to process the transactions also built in. So from a commercial point of view, I'm happy for anyone to say, hey, let's have a play on the platform and see what the costs are, and I think you would be surprised that they actually are reasonable costs.
No, just wanted to say, could you include European rail in there?
Include what, sorry?
Rail, train?
So rail has to some degree been solved. You have lots of people in the space that are looking at rail. But okay, I'm not a rail, maybe not solved. The answer is we can include anything in this platform that's ground transport that we will deliver. We've built a platform that can consume content. It doesn't care what the content is. So at some point in the future, it will be an autonomous vehicle. It could be a Virgin Galactic flight to space. It doesn't matter the content of what it is. So rail, yes, is absolutely easy. And actually, the UI is very much influenced by the train line because they did a really great job on their booking. So the booking journey doesn't matter. So the content, yeah, we could absolutely do.
How about a big hand for Daniel? Please keep it going for our great judges. Thanks for your good questions. And thank you for your participation today. We really appreciate it. And hopefully you'll come back and join us at 14:30 for the next round. Thank you.
Why not?